Good morning, comrades. Welcome back to the channel, welcome back at the Nürburgring, and welcome back at Apex, where you join us today for a very special video, because ever since we started doing maintenance video together with George on our cars, there was a very prominent question: what type of oil do you use, when do you change it, and all the other oil related questions. So today we're going to cover all of that. It's going to be a very long video, basically everything you need to know about oil when you run your car on the track. So it's going to be probably long, but you can watch the timeline underneath and skip it towards your desired, so to say, topic or subject. So it's going to be pretty long, so let's get started. But first, a big thank you to our sponsor of today's video. No, we don't have any, but major thank you to our Chief Director of Vehicle Dynamics Assembly and Maintenance, George, who is joining me again today for this video to talk everything about oil. So thank you very much for that, George.
No dramas.
So basically what we have done, we have divided our cars towards the, according to the type of oil that we use. So we have rental cars, we have taxi cars, we have also cars inside that we're going to go over it later. And we kept the door closed because it's pretty cold, it's 2 degrees, and we want to keep the heat inside. So we're going to start first of all with the cars in this first row. And basically this is, I should go from that side, because 218, BMW 218 turbocharged engine, 1.5 liter 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder engine, 200 horsepower on Polo TDI. Oh, we have too many TDIs, but we're not covering today a private fleet of all the TDI Golfs. Maybe later on we will see. TSI, or no, TFSI.
Yeah, TFSI, yeah.
Moving on to a Seat Leon Cupra 300 horsepower turbocharged EA888 engine, same as in the Golf R. N55?
N55,
375 or 370?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Nearly 400.
Straight 6 turbocharged engine and Boxer flat 4 naturally aspirated 200 horsepower, now slightly a bit more because it's been a bit modified. So all kinds of different cars, but what unites them, they run one type of oil. But before we get into that, maybe you can explain us the numbers that you find on oil regarding like the viscosity, it's called. So for example, this runs 5W30, and for me, I'm a car guy, hopefully you can tell. But before I was like really car guy, and I had to change oil on my car or like add oil when the car was saying like, okay, you need to add some oil, and I was going to the gas station, I was finding all these bottles. I'm like, okay, 5W30 or 5W60, both with turbocharged engines or naturally aspirated, was a bit confusing. So maybe you can explain what all these things mean.
Yeah, so we'll start with the W, because a lot of people misinterpret the W for weight.
For weight?
So a lot of people say, oh, 5 weight 30. It's not weight at all. W stands for winter.
Basically what is right now.
Yeah, what is right now, and we can feel that. Oh, hi Diana. So the W stands for winter. So basically this is the cold thickness of the oil. Mm-hmm. So this is how the oil is tested from cold, and that sums that up basically. Yeah. That's pretty straightforward. The second number is the SAE number. So I can't remember exactly what SAE stands for. AE is Associations of Engineers, but
S is something.
Yeah, the S is something. I don't know.
Or specification.
I can't remember.
Well, yeah.
So this number is the oil thickness when it's hot, so the viscosity when it's hot. So the oil is tested at 100 degrees and is measured on the resistance to flow. Essentially, is I think that's the correct term for it. Mm-hmm. So basically it's tested in that, and it's measured in centi-stokes. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the oil's measured in this way to see how. I'm distracted now. I'm well and truly distracted. There's too many people walking about. Lewis, go away. So yeah, it's measured in centi-stokes. I'll give you a rough idea. Let's go with a 1030 to a 1060. So the 1030, these are random numbers, so don't quote me on this. Mm-hmm. So the 1030 is measured, let's say, at 10 centi-stokes. That's the measurement of it to flow at 100 degrees. A 1060 is more around 25 centi-stokes, so it's over 100% thicker.
Okay. That's interesting.
That's kind of the rough thing to go by. Search it online and have a look, see a little bit more research, and you can have a look at the numbers that are by the book kind of thing, the tolerances.
Long story short, it means the thickness of the oil depending on the oil,
depending on the temperature. Yeah, so let's just go with like the 1030, 100 degrees flows at this. The 1060 to flow at the same number would probably need like 200 degrees. Mm-hmm. So that being said, it's I know there's a lot of big questions to say, oh yeah, let's run the thicker oil in the track car because it gets hot and it thins out and
because
it
that
causes
was
problems.
the biggest question or remark that we got when we made a video about the Cupra and saying like, hey, we're putting 5W30 in there. A lot of people are saying like, why is it such a thin oil that you put in the car? Whereas me, well, like the person who would comment saying like, I do like 1060 or 560, like a thicker oil in my track car because it's better. But
well, then you get to the problems of, so a 1060 on an old school, like an 80s car, like the Starlet, the Jap engine, you would probably go with, yeah, run a slightly thicker oil because of the design of the engine, the tolerances, etc., etc. But with these new cars, the tolerances are so small. You have the oil is so much better now. The 530, a 530 today compared to one 20 years ago, hasn't got half of the agents it has in the oil now, half of the additives, the anti-frothing agents, and all the stuff like that. So you can use it, and it's pretty good for manufacturer spec. Obviously, you need to change it a little bit more often. If it's seeing so many heat cycles and so much abuse and whatever else, then yeah, it's just natural. You need to change it quicker.
and that's in our case, we changed it often anyway, and that's why we can
That's
get
why
away.
we keep it. So that's why, because a lot of these cars we still have warranty coverage because they're still road legal. So we still have our warranty on some cases, and yeah, if we had any engine issues or any issues in particular, and they tested oil and said, oh no, you're running a 1060 and you should be a 530,
yeah,
there's going to be problems. And
so
we
it's
won't get covered.
manufacturer spec, supplied by supported by manufacturer, the type of oil. Again, also this is why we run this particular oil, because it's covered by the manufacturer warranty and manufacturer spec.
So
can I make an assumption is that we're running also a thin oil because we are only 1.5 kilometer from the track, so cars get sent
also that, yeah,
immediately almost on the track.
because this. So going back to the viscosity, the thickness, the 1060 is way too thick in some cases. So you think you have it sitting cold overnight, all the oil's in the sump, maybe even for a week, like now, TF only at the weekend. The car hasn't been started all week. It then gets started up by the customer and driven straight away. Yeah. Now, yeah, maybe it is best practice to start all the cars up at once, but if it's a walk-in and, you know. So anyway, the thickness of a 1060, that oil now needs to reach the top of the head like that. Yeah. The moment you turn that key, before the car actually runs, that half a second of it turning over, the oil pump needs to be on it, pumping the oil straight up to the head so you don't have any oil starvation. Now, if you run a thick oil, there's the big delay of that happening. Whereas you run a thinner oil, it's okay. You need to find a happy balance of a 530 and a 1060. Yeah, okay, the 1060 is going to be maybe better at higher temperatures. In most cases, not. The 530 will be better in the lower temperatures. Yeah, it's up there. It's working straight away. It's cool. That's where you need to find a happy balance. Most of the manufacturers do this. This is why they list 2 or 3 different oil grades that you can use with that engine. And who am I to disagree with that?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not that simple. It depends per use case. In our case, this works perfectly, and this is why we run it. How often do we change it? You mentioned in the Cupra video every 3,000 kilometers?
Around every 3,000. So that's always been a good rule of thumb, especially high season when it's really warm and the track's busy and stuff. We change it a lot more frequent.
That's 3,000 track kilometers.
Yeah.
So if people run it just on their street car, that would be like what, 15,000? Yeah. Something around that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, around that.
Yeah.
So I usually use it as a rule of thumb between 3 and 5, but 3 we go safely because high season we're changing them every 3. Exactly. So yeah, that's the kind of the times for it. Now the oil we use is a Longlife oil.
What does this mean?
Which means that I have to go by miles and kilometres. I'm just trying to work it out. So 19,000 miles is a Longlife oil. So that means that you don't have to change it for 19,000 miles of street use, which is great in most cases because then you save loads of money. Yeah. Which is 32,000 kilometres, maybe.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So you use it on the street. It's fine. Obviously, we need to use this for taking to mind it's being used on a track. So this is why we change it a little more frequent. Yeah.
Now, we've been here quite a time already at the first row of the cars. I think people want to know what's happening there. But before we go there, a question. We use, again, same type of oil in these cars, but here we have naturally aspirated car, 200 horsepower, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder turbocharged with almost twice the horsepower, 370, and they still use the same oil. How's that?
So again, they're both manufacturer spec, so they're both use 530, which is again, manufacturer have done all the testing for us, so we don't need to argue that.
Mm-hmm.
The differences between them is obviously turbocharged, the temperatures build up a lot quicker. So maybe we take into account slightly older cars or older generations and stuff. Like, again, moving back to like a 90s Jap car, because this is what I know better. The thicker oil will work okay as long as you warm the engine up first and then send it, it's all good. In this case, the 530 works perfectly in a new turbocharged engine, again, tolerances and the rest of it. Obviously to take into account the turbocharger as well. Obviously you know what happens to a turbocharger the moment you starve it of oil for 1 second. It's the bearings overheat and that's it, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing of using a good oil is to preserve the thrust bearings of the turbo, or ball bearings depending on what turbo you have, and to stop all the carbon build up from the oil. Obviously oil, if you've seen any old school engine stripped down videos or done it yourself and you've noticed on the inside of the head it's like orange, and you can scrape it off with your thumb. This is what happens on the turbochargers, and it causes problems. It causes a premature wear and stuff, so that's one thing to take into account with that. Again, naturally aspirated engine doesn't run as hot, so you can use the thinner oil anyway and it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they use the same oil, it's all manufacturer spec, it's all goes into line with what we use here. So
okay,
yeah, it's good.
Let's move on to our next pair of cars, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to comment when we're going to put the sign back on.
Yeah, we've got to wait for Pete to detail it first and then we'll put the sign on.
Okay.
once it's Pete-tailed, we're all good.
Pete-tailed. So here we have our BMW M4 rental car, made famous by Robert Kubica in his Send It video. Someone commented, stop calling it Send It. Sorry that we said Send It so often in this video already. But anyhow, and we have the BMW M3 taxi, our famous taxi with 4 bucket seats. Unfortunately, this year hasn't been running as often as we would want to because of the current world situation. But still, a very good case study.
Don't mention the C word.
Don't mention the what?
Don't mention the C word.
Oh yeah, exactly. Very good case study. Same engine, S55. S55, yes, okay, I had it right the first time. But 2 different uses because heavier car, especially when it's fully loaded up with all the people. But the big question is, how come this, the N55, which is pretty much similar, straight 6 turbocharged, straight 6 twin turbocharged, why are they using different oil? And first of all, what are we using?
Yeah, go with that first.
Yeah, 5W50.
So the S55, obviously the taxi is run day in, day out, 30 laps a day, absolutely full chat, loaded. It's
full chat. That's alternative to Send It. That's
full chat is it's the British Send It. So yeah, it's run all day. The engine is literally running from at times 7:30, 8 a.m. until 8 p.m.
Because we basically don't switch it off.
No,
and especially on a hot day when we want to keep the interior of the car cool with air conditioning.
Exactly.
It stays running and to keep also the engine warm between the track closures.
Yeah, exactly. So we use the 1550 for that. The reason being because it's running all day. We don't need to. The oil temps are normally pretty high on the S55.
Mm-hmm.
The manufacturer spec, one of them is a 530, which we could run the oil that we use here.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously for this application it's slightly different. Now the M4, again the same. Although sometimes it's only rented for like maybe 2 laps. It's run up before. It goes for the 2 laps. Most cases, people say, you know what, I'm just going to run it for another 2 laps. And they come back and they pay the difference.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's a fun car. So again, most cases, this is being sent.
Yeah.
I can't say that word again, but it's in most cases it is. So yeah, we run that oil. Now I run this because of recommendations from other people in the area, from people who I trust. And yeah, we just go with that. It's good. It works.
Yeah. So manufacturer,
again,
spec supplier, and recommendation from locals.
We'll get to the tried and tested thing with the Porsche because I've got a prime example.
I guess I think we should go there and talk about that then.
Yeah.
Since, but first, I don't think we should dedicate too much. But I know that people are going to ask it. What's up with transmission oil, and especially double clutch transmission? Because I think that's the one that we change the most.
DCT. Yeah, next to the I guess so.
Yeah, so DCT, that means double clutch transmission, M4, M4, M3, M2, the Cupra and the Polo GTI, they run double clutch transmission, so DCT or DSG.
So we change the oil more frequently. Manufacturer spec is around, I don't know the BMW exact, but it's around 30 to 40,000 kilometers for VW and BMW. The reason being, obviously the clutches are constantly being used, always being used, and through the slight slip every now and then from when they're engaged and etc., the material breaks down and drops into the oil, so that contaminates the oil. You've then got DCT oil is a little bit more sensitive to the heat, so it will start to break down quicker due to the heat. This is why it's changed more often and why it smells so bad when you change it. So yeah, we change it in both of these, the Taxi more often than not. The M2 has been stagnant for a while, so not so much that, but that's just had a fresh change anyway. The Cupra and the Polo as well. It's changed all the time. It's just a good practice. From working at main dealer, working at Audi and Volkswagen for so long, when it's not changed on time for even on the street, you can really see and notice a difference when the oil is bad and the filter's blocking. From people who've had experienced this with their own cars, you'll know what I mean. When you change the oil, it's like a different car instantly.
Yeah. So is this the reason why DSG gearboxes are so sensitive? Maybe because a lot of people.
Yeah, it can be. I won't go too in depth with it, but the valve train, the mechatronics units are normally the sensitive part. Depending on what DSG you have, I know the early Polo GTI, so the white one we had, is a very different variant of box. It has a dry clutch, whereas these have wet, and a different mechatronics unit completely. So yeah, that's why they're a little bit sensitive. The big problem with the clutches as well is when they start to wear, obviously the kissing point becomes greater. If you've got two things that are default set to here, and once they wear, they're more like there. So they're not gripping as they should be all the time when they wear down. So then that breaks down more and gets into the oil more. That's when you start to get more gearbox issues. Yeah. But we'll cover this in another video, I guess.
Exactly. Regarding the GT86 manual transmission, we don't change it often because we change the transmission more often than the oil.
It's been changed like 3 times since I've been here, so yeah, the manual transmissions aren't too bad.
We love a misshift.
Oh man, don't.
All right, let's hop inside for the last pair of our oils. And that's in this case the GT2 RS MR, the fastest still street legal car on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And also, you said McLaren is also running the same type of oil. Are you enjoying the heater?
Oh man, it's so cold outside. The McLaren's running a 0W40. Currently running Mobil 1 on this, but we're working to change it anyway. So, but that's what comes from factory with. That's how it is. Don't really dabble too much in the McLarens because I haven't had much run-ins with them. Funnily enough, since I've been here. Obviously the 600 was gone when I came. The 720 was off the fleet for time being and all the rest of it. So yeah, I can't go too much into the McLarens without knowing facts. So yeah, won't talk about that too much.
Exactly. So let's move to our main hero of the day, or to say like the highest level of the car, which is the GT2 RS MR. What does it run?
So we had it running on the OEM spec oil, which was a 530 or 1030. After how many laps we've done and it running all day, every day, we started to notice a little bit of valve train noise. So we caught it pretty early on. Tim noticed it straight away when he came back. We noted it, gave the car a little cool down time as such. Went back to Manthey the next day. We sort of discussed there what the next option is to take. So the next oil that they list for it was a 550. So we went to the thicker oil to see if this would work. Now, in some cases, the thicker oil doesn't always work, as I said before. But in this case, it quietened down. But then the problem is we started to get the valve train noise from cold. So the oil was too thick. So we've gone from an oil being too thin when hot to now too thick when cold. So the valve train noise was originally when it was hot, and now the valve train noise was when it was cold.
Yeah.
So it was obviously not picking the oil up quick enough to get to the heads. So bearing this in mind, now we've met halfway and gone to a 540, and no problems.
Yeah.
Start it up and there's no issues. When it gets hot, there's no issues. So it.
And you don't have to preheat it too
No,
long.
you don't have to preheat it. Well, as such you do. You don't really want to get in especially a turbocharged car and just drive it like a lunatic straight away. You do want to warm up a little bit. Not knowing that from experience. No, but this is like the prime example of making sure you get the right oil thickness for what you're using. So the thick oil, like I say, was no good from us cold, because the first, like not even cold, I'm talking halfway around the first lap and you'd still have the noise. Maybe if it's a cold day like today, you would get back from the first lap and it would still be there. You still hear the ticking from the lifters. So yeah, you don't want to go, like I say, a thick oil is not always best.
Yeah, so that was again like the example that you were referring to at the beginning of the video when people say like, hey, you should run a thicker oil.
You can use the same example when, so all the 180 guys, you'll know exactly what I mean. So an old Golf 180 or an Audi Mark 1, Audi TT 180, the strainers always block. They're common, they're renowned for blocking, and you can tell straight away that, so the strainer is the pickup from the oil pump. It's like a small metal gauze in the bottom with a tube that comes up to the oil pump. That's what picks the oil up from the sump. And people, you'll know because you start the car up and it's like tap in straight away, and you know it. And then as soon as you drop the sump, take the strainer off, and you'll see that it's blocked up with this orange like residue from the oil. So yeah, it's the same kind of thing with a thicker oil. Yeah. It's almost as if you've got a partially blocked strainer because it's not picking it up quick enough. And we had this with the Porsche. So
yeah, so I believe the type of oil is over here.
Yeah, it's the drum on the right, I think.
And GT2 RS.
And then DSG.
There we go. The 5W40 and the DSG for the DSG and DCT oil over here. Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything. Probably the main question is going to be, so we happen to run all Liqui Moly. Why is that?
What's that?
Why do we run Liqui Moly, all the same brand?
Because there's very few that will give you all of the manufacturer codes for one oil. So like the 530, it covers all of our fleet, whereas some of the other 530s don't. The Shell we used, it's a very good oil, but it didn't cover, I can't remember which brand, I can't remember which car it was that it didn't cover the engine. The code wasn't in the suggested list. Now, you could probably get away with using it on the road because, it's a 530 and it'll be okay. But again, like I said, warranty purposes and for keeping everything by the book, that's what we're going to try and do. So the Liqui Moly works with that. Not to mention, since we've used it, it's a pretty good oil. It's not giving us any problems whatsoever. There's no issues like you would see with a cheap oil. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's a known brand in Germany. It's Germany based, I think, isn't it? Made in Germany.
I think the biggest one in Germany, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on top, I guess it also makes your life easier when you have to order oil. You just get it from all the one supplier.
One of the big things for me is that, because ordering parts here is so annoying. so annoying. It's easy. In England, you can just go to Halfords. If you really need emergency oil, you can go Halfords. Or you've got like OP Oils, all these kind of sites. I don't know if there's any in Germany, but I'm struggling to find them. So this is why, if you find one supplier that can sort you out, then you stick with it. If it works, then you stick with it. So this is the good thing. We ordered this and it came so quick with all the stuff that we ordered straight away, and it was mint. So it's hopefully we can strike a deal in the future, because that'll be a
who knows? Maybe Liqui Moly is watching. So we'll see. But that was a pretty long video. But as mentioned, we tried to cover everything in one video and answer all your questions. If you have more questions, please let us know in the comments below, and we will go over them next time. Maybe we can cover diff oil. Maybe we can. Yeah,
diff oil we need to cover, but that's not really a big subject. We could probably do that when I'm changing it next as a brief one in one of your vlogs.
What would be a subject you would like to cover for next time, oil-wise?
Man, I don't know. There's not really many oils involved, is there really? It's mainly 2 or 3.
I have a good one, but we can actually mention it now for people who keep watching it all the time till the end of the video. the price of the oil change on the, so first of all, we forgot to cover, because the other cars we cover every 3,000 kilometers. Do you cover this more often?
Surprisingly not.
Okay.
We go with, see, Manthey, we have a big confidence with Manthey. So while this was in warranty, it went to Manthey every time. So we know roughly what happens with it. I tell them, yeah, this is this, or this, and this is this. And they work with us side by side. Obviously, we will be going, once the warranty runs out, we'll probably be doing it ourselves here, and then having like an annual service with Manthey as well. So, yeah, this isn't changed as frequent, maybe 5,000 kilometers, and then we change it.
So even less frequent?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, which is, I don't know if it's never causing the issues. The engine is still sweet. Obviously, we've changed between the oils a little bit. The last 2 oil changes were a lot less than 5,000 kilometers because we changed from a 5 to the 540, to the 550 to the 540. So yeah, that was.
So I believe like last year when we made a video explaining the taxi running costs, we came up to like €1 per lap of the cost of the oil.
Yeah, I can't remember what the price worked out to be on this. It was around 674 euros, I think, rings a bell for something.
Per 1,000
laps, yeah.
Yeah, but then we need to add
but then you've got the
time of oil change.
The time of oil change, the downtime, the filters.
Your wages, etc. All the business perspective sides.
There's loads of other factors, but that's just literally 674 euros just in oil.
Just in oil per 1,000 laps.
Per 1,000 laps.
Yeah.
So that's cool. You probably end up doing more than that if you make the oil changes more frequent.
Yeah.
Then you'll definitely do.
So basically, if you enjoy your taxi lap, you can give €1 tip to George for changing the oil, or to Robert in the piggy bank. We should make like a
don't give it to me. That's gross misconduct.
Yeah, exactly. When one of these drums are empty, we'll make it like a piggy bank where people can drop €1 in there for the oil change. Anyway, we're starting to talk nonsense, so let's not dilute this informative video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. As mentioned previously, if you have any questions about oil, we will try to answer them, or any question regarding car maintenance, we will keep on making these videos when we're going to go over every car and go more into detail what mods are on the car, what are downfalls of the car if you want to buy it yourself after all running these cars for so many years. So let us know what you want to see, and we will try to make it happen, because the winter is going to be not that long, because we have a lot of things to do. We have many cars to build.
Oh man, we have a lot to do.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that.
My season's just starting.
Exactly. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good winter, good time. And looking forward to see you here at the Nürburgring. Bye. Bye, George.